give you two things. So the first one is several years ago, the notion of grid edge intelligence was I'll say a vague concept. Today it's absolutely real, and you probably can't walk around any of the booths without hearing it. I certainly think we've got a leadership position. We've got 16 million endpoints already in the field, 10 million more in backlog. We're past the early adopters and into the mid-section of the market in terms of how this is really being deployed. The part that is yet to come, of course, is putting all of that data to work and the new applications that will come on top of it. So grid edge intelligence, no longer theoretical, but real and here today. That's part one. I would say part two of the story, which is really starting to emerge, is the use of data more wholesomely and more fully across the entire ecosystem. The idea of bringing together disparate parts of data, whether we're talking about weather patterns, AMI data, ADMS data, all sorts of other drone footage to understand how to improve resiliency, reliability, affordability, and safety. That's something that is very much emerging across the industry today. Clearly, the pace of technology coming at the customers is much faster than what they've experienced before. So a key issue is how can we as suppliers into the utilities and how can utilities adopt new technology faster? That is the bottleneck that slows the pace of innovation across the industry. So that's, I'll say, part one. Part two is affordability. Affordability clearly on everyone's minds, from the utilities side to the consumer space. We've got to find ways to put technology to work to manage pricing. From an Itron perspective, what can we do to help customers get 10 or 15 or perhaps 20% of additional capacity out of their existing assets by better balancing supply and demand at the edge? That's a clear example of how we can help with affordability. Just non-wires alternatives, instead of requiring build out of massive infrastructure, is a way that affordability problem can be solved. I think that the acquisitions are firmly placed on the notion of resiliency as an entire platform. How can we help customers throughout every step of the asset lifecycle, from planning to build to operating to protection and maintenance? You can see as I walked around that circle, and that is the asset lifecycle for a utility, and making sure we've got a way to really turn those assets into something that is good for the utility, for the return side, but also improves reliability. That notion is really what's underneath the assets and how we plan to deploy our resiliency solution platform in the years ahead. Outcomes certainly is one of our business segments, but I think it's really how we need to think about and how we generally internally measure our business. We want to make sure that every time we engage with a customer, that is successful. What is the outcome? Did we meet the customer's objective? And that's the measurement and the standard we need to hold ourselves to. Outcome as a business segment takes that very generic concept that we apply broadly for our business, but puts it to work to utilize the systems, the data that we have to create business solutions for our customers. So if it is transformer monitoring, if it is understanding electrical connections, it is providing visibility into EVs, it is mitigating wildfire risks, it is creating as-built plans and actual documentation when a long-form construction project comes through. All of these things are outcomes in different forms, and that's really how we want to continue to support the customers, and of course that grows our business as well. This is the start of the next wave in terms of how the industry will continue to grow and flourish. 10 years ago, grid edge intelligence was a notion. Today it's here and it's real. Today we're starting on a new journey and a new chapter around resiliency and reliability. So resilience platforms is something that I think will come from the concept stage into implementation in the years ahead. And you can mark this moment as the first step in that journey. The idea of grid transformation is no longer something that's a slogan, but is now really a reality. Incorporating new technology, things like AI. It may sound a little bit distant from where we are today, but it's not theoretical. It's already part of the grid. There are real world applications that are happening every day. Response to storms. We had a big ice storm that just rolled through the nation just here during the last weeks. And some of the clips that you see about utility CEOs talking about how they handled that storm and how they provided restoration services relied on AI models. And that is a very good example of how we can take new technology, incorporate it into a very risk-averse business model for very, very good reasons, and we really can put technology to work for the good of society.